Colonial history of Egypt and the struggle for independence. For thousands of years, Egypt has stood as a beacon of civilization, a land of pyramids, pharaohs, and a deep cultural heritage. But behind this ancient glory lies a more recent history of foreign domination, economic exploitation, and popular resistance. In this video, we'll explore the colonial history of Egypt, examine how class division shaped the struggle for independence, and highlight the often overlooked contributions of women, youths, and ordinary people in shaping Egypt's destiny. Ottoman rule and the rise of European influence. Although not a direct European colony until the 19th century, Egypt came under increasing foreign influence after Napoleon's invasion in 1798. By the early 1800s, it was nominally part of the Ottoman Empire, but ruled semi-independently by leaders like Muhammad Ali. However, the expansion of global capitalism brought new pressures. The Suez Canal project in 1869, funded largely by French and British investors, plunged Egypt into debt and opened the door to full-scale foreign control. In 1882, Britain invaded Egypt to protect its financial interests, especially over the Suez Canal. Though officially called a protectorate, British occupation lasted nearly 7 decades. Under colonial rule, Egypt was reshaped into an agricultural exporter feeding Europe, while local peasants, or fellaheen, were forced into low-wage labor on large cotton estates owned by elites or foreign companies. Class structure under colonialism. Egypt's colonial economy was deeply unequal. At the top were British officials and a small group of wealthy landowners who collaborated with them. Below them sat a growing urban working class, factory workers, railway employees, dock workers, many of whom lived in poverty despite fueling the economy. And at the bottom were millions of rural peasants who bore the brunt of taxation, conscription, and displacement from their lands. Early resistance movements. One of the earliest mass anti-colonial uprisings was led by Ahmed Arabi in 1881. His revolt united soldiers, peasants, and lower-class citizens demanding reforms and an end to foreign interference. Though ultimately crushed by British forces, the Arabi movement planted seeds of national consciousness among the lower classes, showing that unity across ethnic and religious lines could challenge imperial power. Role of women. Women have always been central to Egypt's political struggles, though their contributions are often erased from mainstream narratives. During the 1919 revolution, women took to the streets alongside men, leading demonstrations, nursing the wounded, and spreading revolutionary messages. Figures like Huda Sha'arawi became symbols of both feminist and nationalist resistance, challenging both colonialism and patriarchal norms. Youth and students. Students and youth played a pivotal role in the anti-colonial movement. Inspired by global revolutions in Russia, India, and China, young Egyptians organized underground groups, published radical newspapers, and mobilized workers. Universities became hotbeds of political activity. Student unions led strikes and boycotts, pushing the nationalist movement toward more radical demands for social justice, not just independence. Ordinary people and mass mobilization. Beyond political parties and intellectuals, it was ordinary people, farmers, factory workers, bakers, and street vendors who made independence possible. They formed trade unions, refused to pay taxes, and joined massive protests, demanding self-rule. Their collective action made it impossible for Britain to maintain full control. The 1919 revolution, led by Saad Zaghloul, was not just a political campaign, it was a mass uprising fueled by popular anger against colonial injustice. Path to formal independence. After decades of pressure from below, Britain finally agreed to recognize Egypt's independence in 1922, although it retained control over defense, foreign policy, and the Suez Canal. Even after formal independence, British troops remained in Egypt, especially around the Canal Zone. True sovereignty would only come later, through another generation of struggle. Post-war struggles and 1952 revolution. In 1952, a group of young army officers known as the Free Officers, led by Gamal Abdel Nasser, overthrew the monarchy, promising land reform, industrial development, and real independence. This revolution drew strong support from workers and peasants who hoped for economic justice. Nasser nationalized the Suez Canal in 1956, triggering a crisis with Britain, France, and Israel, and uniting the masses behind him. Legacy of the struggle. The legacy of Egypt's anti-colonial struggle is complex. While former colonial rule ended, many of the same class inequalities persisted under new regimes. Yet, the courage of women, youth, and ordinary people who stood up against empire remains a vital part of Egypt's national identity. Understanding this history through a class lens reminds us that true liberation is not only about political sovereignty, but also about economic justice and social transformation. From the banks of the Nile to the alleys of Old Cairo, the people of Egypt have always fought for dignity and self-determination. Their story is not just one of the past, it continues to shape the future of the nation today. If we want to understand Egypt today, we must remember the class struggles of its past and the ordinary people who dared to rise. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey through Egypt's untold history. Drop your comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe as we continue to explore the stories that shaped Africa's past and future. Together, let's celebrate the legacies that define us. Until next time, stay critical and keep questioning.